Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Federoff.
Present.
Mr. Bariak.
Present?
Ms. Spletzer.
Present.
Mr. Rufner.
Present.
Ms. Stimpert.
Here.
Before we start the meeting tonight, would the clerk please read what was passed out to him?
Yes, thank you.
Would you speak up as well as you can, sir?
Yes. This is a resource from the Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost, the Open Sunshine Laws 2023, an Open Government Resource Manual titled the Ohio Open Meetings Act, Chapter 8, Duties of a Public Body, Section A, Number 3. The right to hear but not to be heard or to disrupt. All meetings of any public body are declared to be public meetings open to the public at all times. A court found that members of a public body who whispered and passed documents among themselves constructively closed that portion of their meeting by intentionally preventing the audience from hearing or knowing the business the body discussed. However, the Open Meetings Act does not provide or prohibit attendees the right to be heard at meetings. Note that other laws may apply to limit the restrictions the public body can place on the public's ability to speak during meetings. Further, a disruptive person waives his or her right to attend meetings, and the body may remove that person from the meeting. In addition, Ohio Revised Code Section 2917.12, disturbing a lawful meeting, effective January 1, 1974, legislation House Bill 511, 109th General Assembly, Section A, no person with purpose to prevent or disrupt a lawful meeting, procession, or gathering shall do either of the following. 1, do any act which obstructs or interferes with the due conduct of such meeting, procession, or gathering. 2, make any utterance, gesture, or display which outrages the sensibilities of the group. B, whoever violates this section is guilty of disturbing a lawful meeting, a misdemeanor of the 4th degree.
Thank you. Changes to tonight's agenda. I want to make a motion to move the next regular scheduled council meeting of October 4th at 6 p.m. to October 6th at 4:30 p.m. Do I have a second?
Do you, just to clarify, Mr. Bariak, you're making a motion to add that motion to the agenda, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I need to hear the numbers again, please. I didn't catch them.
I want to make a motion to move the next regularly scheduled council meeting of October 4th at 6 p.m. to October 6th at 4:30 p.m. Do I have a second? Mr. Fedoff, did you say second?
And again, that motion is to add the motion Mr. Bariak described to the agenda, correct?
Yes. Then I'd like to make a motion to remove the agenda items listed for public hearings, ordinances 2023-31, 2023-34, 2023-35, and 2023-36. I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
You want to add that to the regular agenda too, sir?
Yeah, you want to make that, add that motion to the agenda and then first, and then vote on that one.
Okay.
And I would have the other meeting, the motion should go to the end of the agenda.
Then I'd like to make a motion to remove ordinances 2023-31, 2023-34, 2023-35, and 2023-36 listed under unfinished business. I'd like to move that to change the agenda.
Second.
We're going to just wait to vote on that, sir, or should I have a second on that right now?
Yeah, you have a second, so Mike, if you want to handle those one at a time?
Yeah.
A motion to add these motions to the
Yeah,
agenda.
please.
You want me to read it and then call the roll?
Yeah, for each motion.
There's a motion to add to the agenda, a motion to move the regular meeting of October 4th at 6 PM to October 6th at 4:30 PM. Seconded by Mr. Federoff. Mr. Bariak,
Yes.
Ms. Spletzer,
Yes.
Mr. Rufner,
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert,
Yes.
Mr. Federoff.
Yes.
Okay, and just to clarify, so that will be added after the last motion on the agenda under new business?
Last item in new business
Okay.
currently. This next motion is to add to the agenda a motion to remove ordinance 30, 2023-31, 2023-34, 2023-35, and 2023-36, listed in public hearings from tonight's agenda.
I'll make that motion.
That was, motion was made by Mr. Bariak, seconded by Mr. Federoff. Ms. Spletzer,
Yes.
Mr. Rufner,
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert,
Yes.
Mr. Federoff,
Yes.
Mr. Bariak.
Yes.
Okay, and then
Then-
I would suggest we move that motion to before the public hearings, to vote on it before it comes on the agenda.
And then the third one is to remove ordinance 2023-31, 2023-34, 2023-35, and 2023-36 from the agenda as listed in unfinished business. Was
I
seconded-
made that motion.
That was moved by Mr. Bariak, seconded by Mr. Federoff. And Ms. Spletzer,
Yes.
Mr. Rufner,
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert,
Yes.
Mr. Federoff,
Yes.
Mr. Bariak.
Yes.
Okay, I recommend we put that motion under unfinished business before we get to 2023-31.
All right, we're gonna go on. No special presentations by staff members or invited consultants. And we're gonna go on to our public comments, agenda items only, limited to the remaining agenda items, meeting minutes, ordinances. That'll be 2023-37, 2023-38, and 2023-39, and the motions. Would anybody like to speak on this, please?
Adam Zimmerman, 515 LeMay Avenue. First and foremost, I want to address the new motion tonight to move a public meeting till 4:30 on a, if my calculations are correct, Wednesday is the 4th, so that will be a Friday at 4:30 in the afternoon. It's really hard for people to get home from work at 4:30. So why would you move a public meeting to 4:30 when most people cannot attend? What's there to hide at this meeting is what I wonder. Now I'd like to move to my main items. Since the items have not been removed from the agenda yet, they are still on the agenda and able to be spoken about. I would like to address Pam Pretty's contract situation. I would first like to start off by reading from the sworn deposition of Mr. John Bariak, Thursday, January 19th, 2023, in the Court of Common Pleas, Kathleen King, plaintiff versus City of Newton Falls, Ohio, defendant. Why is this important? Because this outlines what you thought about the contracts to our other public officials and how they apply to Ms. Pretty's contract.
Excuse me, Mr. Zimmerman. Mr. Law Director, is that on legal, is that on the agenda? He's allowed to speak on?
Still on the agenda right now, yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. First question, why were you against it, meaning the contract? Your answer, because there is no way for the city to have it say so for the taxpayer. In other words, it was passed with no benefit to the city. It was lopsided. Next question from the lawyer. I guess, let me ask you this directly. So it sounds to me, correct me if I'm wrong, it sounds like your issue was with the contract and the language of the contract, not that you thought Ms. King wasn't a good fit for the job or didn't do a good job. Is that right? Your answer. I based my answer on the way the contracts were. So that directly applies in this case. You go on to say contracts which were lopsided, I found weren't right. A next question, because they were lopsided, because you felt that they were too lopsided in favor of the employee, is that right? Your answer, yes. There was no protection for the city. Later on, you go to answer another question. The main reason was it was lopsided. The council and the village had no recourse, which is exactly where we are now. Next, I would like to read from the sworn deposition of Ms. Tessa Spletzer on the same day in the same court proceeding. Ms. Spletzer, you were asked, it was obvious to me that there was no consideration in the contract. The contract didn't even say, or excuse me, this is your answer. The contract didn't even say she had to come to work. It just said she was going to get paid, and she could never, ever be fired unless she was convicted of a felony. The worst contract I've ever seen in my life. Another answer, the question. So you thought it was lopsided, is that fair? Your answer?
Mayor, time.
Absolutely.
Time, sir.
Again, real quick with this here, this just
Time,
shows
sir.
exactly why you should not vote for these.
Time,
conditions.
sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to address the chair?
Julie Lemon, 609 Ridge Road. I too have questions about this agenda, specifically the work agreement for the city manager, because it seems lopsided. There we go, there's a good word. It seems lopsided. There is nothing good in that contract that benefits us, the citizens, except taking our money to give to her. That's a no from me, a firm no. You raise our rates, how do you expect the people in this community to continue to afford to pay utilities when every time there is a rate study, it raises the rates? And everybody, owner and renter, feel them. And you want to justify a $30,000 raise? No. Absolutely not. And the little merry-go-round musical chairs you guys just did with the agenda, that's because you were wrong last week on Monday. Chapter 125.01 of the Codified Ordinance declared so. And for your first comments when we opened that the clerk read, please put it on the record that the people of this community passed the Charter Review Amendment just last November that guarantees our right to free speech. Have a good day.
Rick Curlin, 1009 Wood Glen Avenue. I guess since we're allowed to comment on something that is sort of on the agenda and not on the agenda, I'll make a comment. A question was asked, why would you do something like that? And I think Mr. Zimmerman is one who knows why, because I believe he said to keep good people. I know many on council at that time said, we want to make sure that we have good people. By good people, it means someone who has accomplished something in their position. I don't see where you can argue that she has not accomplished something. We're going through processes now where grants will be available. She has saved the community hundreds of thousands of dollars. Just looking at the numbers, she has accomplished something. It is not the responsibility to say, well, she deserves it, don't do it to her, don't let her have it. You can speak about it. That's council's responsibility. That's why you've been elected. Look at the numbers. Look what she does. There are more events that help this community than ever before, and it's not always about money. We've gone through something that she and other people founded called the Community Kitchen. Those are one of the events, and that was spoiled by Julie Lemon. Now, we can't let things spoil, we can't let this happen to the community. There are other events that we're going to have, and she is one who is coordinated enough to do it. She has earned the money. This is not a partisan thing. She has earned the money. $30,000 a year. She's making 60. No benefits, and you must take that in consideration because that's $27,000 a year. And with those benefits, the last city manager made that when he started. I am saying to everyone on city council, please look at the figures. You want to know why? Look at the figures. Just don't speak arbitrarily because you don't like a person. You can work with people you don't like to accomplish something. We are headed in the right direction. We need to keep our city manager in the position that she holds. Now I'm speaking again, there's no decision being made right now, but that's how I feel about it. Disruptive is without a doubt something we have to look into. Don't argue just for arguing's sake.
Mayor, time.
Thank you very much.
Sorry. Patricia Benitez, 70 West 8th Street, Newton Falls, Ohio. In the Warren Tribune today, they had an editorial about the salary being given to City Manager Pamela Pretty. A contract with a clause concerning the no termination except for a felony and a 50% raise. When this was offered to five previous persons, which I would have been against, Mr. John Baryak voted no. But now it is okay. That's funny, isn't it, John?
Please address the
Goes to
chair.
prove it is all in who you are. If they are so great, why such a great contract? Let them prove their worth. That should not be any problem. And I have another question. I think everybody here, all five of you, are supposed to agree or talk or something with your constituents. How many people up there have asked their constituents if they were in favor of the $30,000 raise and the 5-year contract? I know my person has not asked me. So I wonder how many other people have not been asked what their thoughts are about this race. You, all five of you, are supposed to represent us, the people in your area. You wonder why people don't pass levies? Maybe they don't like the way the money is being spent.
Would anyone else like to address the chair? Okay, we're going to move on. Reports. As the mayor, I'll give mine first. I attended the end of the summer celebration Saturday night. It was a very nice get-together for all the children. There was a movie, The Wizard of Oz. There were food trucks over there. It was a very nice thing that was put on for the children. I'll go now to council members. We'll start with Mrs. September.
My report is for the fire district. We had a meeting last night. Both legal sides have agreed on the real property transfer agreement with Cato Company, and that was approved last night for our economic development. Our numbers are still increasing, both in the township and in the city. 5 fire inspections that were completed, and our members are really active in their training. They took over 84 hours of training, both in-house and online, for the month of August. So, and our next meeting will be October 17th at 6 o'clock at the Township Hall. That's all I have.
Mr. Fedorov, would you like the floor?
Yeah, I
Thank you.
attended a lot of different meetings, but with the resignation of the mayor, those meetings really are a moot point. Attended several conferences with Attorney Beatrice and Councilwoman Testa, and so fortunately those are a moot point. Only statement I want to make is with his resignation, we saved a lot of money, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mrs. Splutzer, would you like the floor?
Yes, I have to go all the way back to August 9th to start my report, because that was the day we held a Treasury Investment Board meeting. And I brought the handout with me, and by the way, it is something I would encourage anybody that cares to see the investments. This is a public record. So I would encourage anyone to public record request the reports. Our investments are doing very well. We have a little over $5 million in securities and close to $2 million in cash assets. 50% of the securities is in U.S. Treasuries, 20% of it is in U.S. government agencies, 4% of it is FDIC insured products, 23% of it is corporate bonds, and 3% of it is in a money market fund. And I don't know if Mr. Housley would like to add anything. I know this meeting seems like it was quite some time ago, but.
I have nothing to add.
Okay. Again, I will just encourage anybody that would like to see the entire report, public record request it. It is part of our minutes, so it is a public record. And then I also attended a Park and Rec meeting on August 23rd. And that was the first meeting, I believe, that Mr. Donato sat on the board. And one of the things that they did talk about was working with the city manager on potential grant opportunities. My notes have something about the Department of Natural Resources grants with some matching funds. Anyhow, I'm sure when those minutes are approved, I'll have better notes to go by. And yes, Mr. Fedorov and I did attend a couple meetings with Attorney Beatrice, and due to the previous mayor's resignation, that did kind of wrap that case up. So we also met as an administration committee when we reviewed the city manager, and that has yet to be presented to council, so that's all I have.
Mr. Rufner, would you like to address the chair?
Yes.
Floor, I mean.
Planning and zoning, I just want to remind everybody, we still have the vacancies on the Planning and Zoning Committee. Currently, there's only 2 active members on the committee aside from myself. We need 3 in order to conduct business. So in order for us to work together with the Commerce Association, so on and so forth, to try and get some of this stuff moving forward and trying to improve the areas, we need to have volunteers. So I would extend that out to anybody that would be interested in participating. Love to have you on there so we can actually, finally in 9 months, have a meeting. I've been up here for 9 months and we have yet to have a planning and zoning meeting because we've not had a quorum. Along with that, don't forget this Saturday, October 23rd, jumping ahead, September 23rd is the Autumn in the Fall thing uptown where all the vendors are going to come out. 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Broad Street from basically South Canal down to Center Street. Come out, see what the vendors have, participate, help out. Also, October 7th is Chili Cook-Off. We're still looking for, and they're still actively seeking competitors. So if you've got a wild recipe out there and you want to prove it, get a hold of the committee and get yourself registered. So that's all I've got.
Thank you. The finance director, sir, do you have anything you would like to
Yes.
speak on, sir?
Yes. Just when we get around ordinance,
Mr. Housley, will you move the mic a little closer to yourself, sir? Your voice just doesn't carry very far.
when we get around to ordinance
Thank you, sir.
2023-39, section 1 currently reads, council hereby and herein authorizes the transfer of $47,737. I would like the of to be struck out and changed to up to $47,737. So when you get to that ordinance, someone would be willing to make a motion to amend it. And with that, I conclude my report.
Thank you. Mr.
Ryan?
Sir, would you have,
Yes. The only thing, like Mr. Housley, I'm going to request, I passed out an amended version of 2023-30, the ordinance, and requesting that it be amended this evening. And the only change is to amend the effective date from September 8th, 2023 to a retroactive date of September 12th, 2023. So would ask for a motion to amend the ordinance accordingly when it comes up on the agenda, and it will need an additional reading after tonight if council decides to move forward and pass that legislation.
Mr. Bryan, I would appreciate help with me to get through this tonight. Okay,
Sure.
I appreciate it,
Not a
sir.
problem.
Thank you, and the parliamentarian here. Is there anything else you have to say, Mr. Bryan?
No, Mr. Bariak.
The city manager, comments by the city manager, please.
Yes, just a few things. I believe the last meeting, everybody was handed out the sheriff's report on the number of calls and the situations in the community that have occurred, so you should have all gotten a copy of that from the last meeting. Also, just to let everybody know, the Scott Street project is moving forward. We had our pre-bid meeting week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago. We had the bid opening yesterday. Folk is reviewing the bids. We had one that was over the 3.6 million, but then there were three that were under or right around within 10% of the $3.6 million project. So Folk is reviewing all of those and will be back to us soon to figure out who is going to be awarded the contract to move forward with Scott Street. I've been fielding some calls regarding Dunkin' Donuts. People have been saying that it's not going through. There's questions regarding that. Just to let everybody know, there is a contract in place. Stuart White has signed the purchase agreement for the property. We started today. I signed documents to do the title work. So that is moving forward. The next step is the annexation of the property. And you will also see on tonight's agenda the moving forward of the sanitary sewer for the project. So the project is moving along nicely at this point in time. So as soon as those documents are completed, then he'll be ready for construction. The last thing that I want to talk about is Aclara. We've been getting a lot of people questioning, you know, bills and things like that for their water bills, the electric meters, and those type things. And just to let everybody know, we still don't have a date on the electric meters. They were supposed to be here in June. They were supposed to be here in August. And here we are in September, and we still don't have a good date as to when we're even going to receive the electric meters. So we don't know at this point.
Mr. Hanson? Yes. Sir, would you please stop the cross-talking?
He was the listener.
Thank you. Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. So we don't know when those electric meters will be in. We've had a lot of problems with the water meters, not reading properly, so the guys have been working extensively on that to try to figure out what's going on. Mr. Bryan and myself have been on numerous phone calls with Aclara, with the different departments, our utility office, the water department, just trying to figure out what's going on with these meters and why we're having so many issues. So as soon as we have more information, we've given them a deadline as to when we need information back by, and we've more or less told them that if we don't start seeing some action, then we have to pursue other avenues. So they have been warned of that. The contract was signed more than 2 years ago, and here we are 2 years down the road, and the project is not complete. So that's one of the things that we have been working on and trying to figure out what's going on there. And with that, that's all that I have.
Would anybody like to have the floor, please? Do we have a date for the training? I'd like to say something. Under economic development, I'd like to give a personal thanks tonight to Morrow, Canada Mesa, and Mr. Denny Malloy. Without their help on this Scott Street Sewer project, they were there every bit to help us in the township. We've accomplishing something now that no one has ever accomplished before, way back. And the other thing is, under economic development, we can't move any faster than what the state and the traffic control studies and that had gone. But as Mrs. Pretty had just mentioned, that we are moving forward. It's not dead. We have a purchase agreement signed. It's in there. Annexation is starting. Hopefully, we'll get this thing on the road. Look, all I'm going to say is, you know, you can't believe everything you read on Facebook. That's a problem. You hear it on Facebook, it's a rule of God. And, well, what can I say? I can't fight Facebook. I don't try. Another thing was on Facebook the other day was about $5 million is all we had left in the economic. We'd blowed all the money. Well, we've got $7 million now, as Mrs. Fletcher said, and we're doing over 5%. Our investments are doing very well. So, you know, all I can tell you is, you know, call up here to City Hall, call one of your representatives and let them give you some of the straight facts instead of what you read on Facebook. I don't know what you can believe on Facebook anymore. Is there any other, if there isn't any other comments?
Mr. Boria, may I say one more thing?
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
If any of you are interested, I was just dropped off this packet today from the Braceville Community Foundation. They offered 6 free tickets to anybody who wants to attend, if any council member wants to attend. It's a seminar regarding human trafficking. I'm sure people have been hearing in our community, there's been some cases of that occurring, so if any of you are interested in participating in, it's a fundraiser type talk about human trafficking and, you know, underground railroads and those type of things, so if any of you are interested, what's that?
What's the date?
September 24th, this Sunday. So if any of you are interested, they did drop off free tickets if you want to attend.
Okay. Thank you. The approval of the previous minutes. Regular meeting, August 2nd, 23. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Can we
August
just
2nd,
make a motion to do all three? Can we do all three of them at once?
If that's the way council wants to do it. I'll put a motion on the floor to approve all three of them at once. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a vote, roll call, please.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Ms. Spletzer?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert?
Yes.
Mr. Federoff?
Yes.
Okay, now we need a motion to approve all three of them.
What's that, sir?
Now, we need a motion to approve the minutes, all three of them at once.
Yeah.
So that was the,
I'll make the motion to approve.
And I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert?
Yes.
Mr. Federoff?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Ms. Spletzer?
Yes.
Now, public hearings,
this is where we moved the motion, Mr. Bariak, to remove the ordinances
Yes.
that are subject to the public hearings for those.
I'd like to make a
Four
motion to remove from the ordinances 2023-31, 2023-34, 2023-35, 2023-36.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Federoff?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Ms. Spletzer?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert?
Yes.
Then I'd like to make a motion to remove from unfinished business 2023-31, 2023-34, 2023-35, and 2023-36. Do I have a second on that motion? Do I have a,
Second.
okay, roll call, please?
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Ms. Spletzer?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert?
Yes.
Mr. Federoff?
Yes.
All right, I think, all right, 2023-37, is that where we're gonna go to, sir?
30.
We have-
No.
We have ordinance 2023-30 under,
Under unfinished business.
Wait a minute, excuse me, I didn't hear that, sir.
I'm sorry. We're in unfinished business, ordinance 2023-30.
Yes.
and that's, I would request a motion to amend the ordinance to the alternate version that was distributed tonight. And again, the change on that is to change the effective date from September 8th, 2023 to being retroactive to September 12th, 2023.
I would like to make that motion. Make the motion to amend, and you all did receive a written version of the amended.
We have a second on that motion.
Second.
Would you call for the roll, sir?
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert?
Yes.
Mr. Federoff?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Ms. Spletzer?
Yes.
Now, I'm putting the motion on the floor as amended. Is that right, Mr. Bryan?
Yes.
I'd like to put a motion on the floor as amended. Do I have a second on that motion?
Second.
Roll call?
Ms. Stimpert?
Yes.
Mr. Federoff?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Ms. Spletzer?
Yes.
And Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and just to clarify, because of the charter change last year, that'll need an additional reading at the next meeting in order to be adopted.
Mr. Bryan, would you state that again, sir? I'm having trouble hearing tonight. I have my hearing aids turned up and I'm still having.
Because of the charter change last year, the ordinance passed at the last meeting by 3 votes to none. It did not meet the threshold to pass as an emergency ordinance. So according to, I think it's Article 21, Article 3, Section 21 of the charter, it needs an additional 2 readings and a public hearing before it can pass. So 1 reading was this evening. It will require a public hearing at the next meeting and to be passed again in order to be effective. So
Thank you. We'll go to new business then. Would the clerk please read that?
Ordinance 2023-37, an ordinance establishing section 153.03 of the Administrative Code pertaining to credit hours for full-time department heads and superintendents who are salaried employees.
Do I have a motion to
Make that motion.
And I'll second.
discussion? Would anybody like the floor?
I will take that. This is one
Mrs.
of the
Fletcher,
things.
you're recognized.
Sorry. This is one of the things that we were also working on with the city managers, coming up with a way to compensate the employees that are on the salary system of payroll, but, end up putting in tremendous amounts of extra time during, like, storms and stuff like that. So this is something that the employees have suggested and has been approved, and something we worked on with the city manager to achieve it.
Would anybody else like a first address?
I will.
Mr. Rufner, you're recognized, sir.
This is actually something that is in use and in play where I work currently. It's also a means to help cut down costs. It gives another option, another alternative to overtime. So you normally have people that are salary non-exempt or whatever, that as soon as they go over their hours, they're automatically time and a half. To people like me, I'd rather have my time off, honestly. So I rarely ever put in for overtime because I have this option available. This gives another option to the city to levy an opportunity to get that time off versus money out of pocket. So it can turn into a cost savings measure as well.
May I address?
You're,
I haven't addressed.
you're recognized, Mrs. Pretty.
Also, just so everybody's aware, currently under the village, the employees are only allowed to turn in their reimbursement for vacation time once annually. A lot of them will not do it because of the tax ramifications, because when they cash those in, the taxes are much higher because it throws them into a different tax bracket because they're getting their normal pay plus any vacation time or whatever they cash in. This also gives them the opportunity and allows for the village to be able to budget a little bit better, because we now are allowing them quarterly to be able to cash in that vacation time instead of doing it annually or waiting until such time as retirement, where we have to come up with big lump sums of money. So it also is a cost-saving measure there, and it's a benefit to the employees to be able to cash it in more than one time a year if they opt to. Okay?
Would anyone else like a first address? We'll call for the roll then, please.
Mr. Baryak? Mr. Baryak?
Halcom, would you, I'm first?
Yes.
Yes.
Ms. Spletzer?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stimpert?
Yes.
Mr. Federoff?
Yes.
Would you please read the next ordinance 2023-38, please, Mr. Halcom?
Ordinance 2023-38, an ordinance authorizing the city manager to accept the bid of Carrilla Contractors Incorporated for the State Route 5 and State Route 534 sanitary force main lateral service sewer project.
Do I have a motion to accept that?
Make
Order.
that motion.
Mr. Federoff?
Yes, I'll make the motion.
Do I have a second by Mr. Rufner? Discussion. Would anybody like the floor? Would anybody like the floor? All right, I'm going to refer my comment. I'm going to go to Mrs. Pretty to weigh in on this, then I'll refer my comment after hers. Go ahead, Mrs. Pretty.
This is for the Dunkin' Donut project to put the sanitary force main out there on that property and just start the project as far as being able to tie into our sanitary sewer system.
And did we come in under what we anticipated, ma'am?
Yes, yes. The original was, I believe, around 57,000, and total costs combined ended up being right around 47.
So if I might have the floor, if no one else wants, does anyone else want to have the floor? I'd like to say that, now that we're getting the sewer set, the the electric poles are set, we're working, signed a purchase agreement, we're down with the annexation moving on. I don't know if they'll be able to break ground this year, but, it's gung ho, we're on top of it. Would you mind calling for the vote? Then anybody else want a second or anything? Or first?
John, may I address council on this?
You want us, yes, sir, would like to have the floor?
Yes.
You are recognized, sir.
Okay. This isn't something that's been appropriated for yet, so that will be an upcoming measure in the future. And also, this is what ordinance 2023-39 relates to. That's what that transfer's for, because that transfer from the general fund to the sewer fund will be from the proceeds of the sale of that property. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Would anyone else like the floor? If not, would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Fedorov?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Ms. Spletzer?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stempert?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna go on 2023-39. Would you please read that, Mr.?
Ordinance 2023-39, an ordinance authorizing the transfer of funds.
Do I have a motion to put that on the floor?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I'd also like to make a motion to amend. As Mr. Housley stated earlier, in section 1 of, it's the last page of our packet. Section 1, council hereby and herein authorizes the transfer of. He wants us to take the word of out of the sentence and replace it with the words up to. The digits still remain the same, the 47,737. So we're just taking the word of out of the sentence and adding the words up to.
Do I have a motion to accept?
Motion to amend?
To accept the motion as amended? To vote on
The second, the motion, you made the motion, right?
Motion to
I made the motion.
Mr. Fedorov, seconding.
second. Roll, please. Well, do we have any discussion on that, first of all? Anyone would like the floor? All right, then I'm gonna have the clerk call for the roll.
Mr.
as
Rufner?
amended.
This is for the amendment, correct?
Amendment.
Correct.
Yes.
Ms. Stempert?
Yes.
Mr. Fedorov?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Ms. Spletzer?
Yes.
Now I'd like to put the motion on the floor as amended.
Make that motion?
Second.
Second. Discussion?
I'd like, I may address council on it.
Or would you like, yes, sir.
I just want to explain you up to, it's my job to police it. The sewer's gonna put in this infrastructure, and my obligation is to transfer only the amount equal to what their costs are. That's it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Then would you please call for the roll, Mr. Alcombe?
Ms. Stempert?
Yes.
Mr. Fedorov?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Ms. Spletzer?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna go on. Would you read the motion, please, Mr. Alcombe?
A motion to schedule trick or treat for Saturday, October 28, 2023, from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
I'd like to address. This is something that is in my notes from.
You've been recognized, Mrs. Spletzer.
This is in the notes from the August 23rd meeting. The Park and Rec Committee has requested that the trick or treat be on the 28th from 4 to 6 p.m.
Would anyone else like to be recognized? Any of the council? Mr. Alcom, would you please call the roll, sir?
Mr. Federoff?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Ms. Splatzer?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
Yes.
Ms. Stempert?
Yes.
Would you please read the next motion, sir?
A motion to appoint Pamela Pretty to the unpaid position of Director of the Department of Historic Sites and Structures.
Do I have a motion to put that on the floor?
Make the motion?
I'll second.
Discussion?
Yes, if you would. This right here, this is instrumental in our application for the $5 million grant. This is showing them that, yes, we have a board in position, ready to go. Ms. Pretty has been right head from the beginning of it to get this together, and this will allow us a continuity to bring the community together and oversee, hopefully, the $5 million grant. So we're looking at the community center and all historic sites in the village that would be overseen by this board. And I can't think of a better person to put in charge of that than Ms. Pretty, with all the work that she's done and the hours she's dedicated to this.
Would anybody else like a first address? Mr. Rufner?
Yes. Just as a point of clarification, the original ordinance as passed clearly states that structures and properties owned by the village of Newton Falls. So again, we're strictly going right back down to the community center. I don't share the same opinion as other council members. I do not have confidence in the abilities professionally to sit as the director of this board and function and perform the duties without bias and in the best interest of the community. So, no. That's all I have.
Would anybody else like the floor before I'd like to say one thing. I want to know how I'm going to put this. Give me a second. When we have a chance that's never been gotten before, never had a chance to pick up a chance for us to do what we want to do, not 2/3 raise 800,000 and get 400 by the Jeffries Foundation. And we want to show Eastgate and everybody else that we have continuity and we have a plan. I wouldn't want to take it away from anybody that's right in the middle of knows what's going on and is given as much time as has been given. I don't think anybody else could even come up to what the time that's been involved in all of this. And I would support her. Would anybody like a second or finish it first, Mrs. Stemper?
May I have a first?
You may have the floor, ma'am.
I'd like to direct my question to Attorney Bryan. Is there not legal standings out there that we are not to be touching or dealing with the community center? And yet we've moved forward.
Yeah, my understanding, I mean, again, I'm not representing the village in that case, but it's my understanding that there is an injunction prohibiting, moving forward, specifically moving forward with the grant. I don't know that it's been filed yet. I think there's an issue about whether that could be in effect for more than 14 days because it was an ex parte order by the court, not an order by agreement. So I think there's, based on the civil rules, there's an argument that it expired 14 days from when it was issued, which is long over with. But again, I'm not representing the village on that case. So appointing someone to the board doesn't violate that order.
Would anyone else like to have the floor? Please, Mr. Alcone, will you call for the roll?
Ms. Spletzer?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
No.
Ms. Stimper?
No.
Mr. Federoff?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes. And motion passes. Mr. Brian, do we have to go back to what we? Are
Yes,
we gonna go
there's-
back to what?
Yeah, we have a motion at this time in the meeting. It was added to the agenda to reschedule the next regular council meeting.
Yes. Do I have a motion?
And maybe if the clerk will remind everyone what that motion is.
What, go ahead, sir. Would you say that again?
Maybe if you could have the clerk remind everyone what that motion is, so everyone.
The motion is to reschedule the meeting for, excuse me, was it September 6th at 4:30?
No, would you like me to read it?
Excuse me. October 6th at 4:30, I'm sorry. That was, the motion was to reschedule the meeting from October 4th at 6 PM to October 6th at 4:30. Do I have a motion to put that on the floor?
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I'd like an address, please.
You may have the floor, ma'am.
What is the purpose of moving this meeting?
What was that, Miss?
What is the purpose of moving a regularly scheduled meeting to a Friday at 4:30? You made the motion, Mr. Bariak, so I was just curious, why are we doing that?
I can't be here. I can't be here October 4th. That's my reason.
I have the floor, please.
You may be recognized.
I too have something scheduled on October 4th, so. That's the reason that I would suggest that we move it to the 6th.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Roll call, would you please call the roll, Mr. Alcone?
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Ms. Spletzer?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
No.
Ms. Stimpert?
No.
Mr. Federoff?
Yes.
Okay, we'll go on to, excuse me. Public comments? Would anyone like to address the chair? Have the floor.
Adam Zimmerman, 515 May Avenue. I'm going to be all over the place here. There's a lot of little things to discuss. First of all, the closing of the senior kitchen. That was done solely on the shoulders of our city manager. She was warned several times, according to a newspaper article, that she needed the correct permit in order to keep the senior kitchen open, and she failed to get that permit. Because of that decision, we have 60 senior citizens, according to someone back here, 60 senior citizens that cannot get a lunch because she failed to get the correct permit when she was warned over and over and over again to do so. This is just what we know about that hasn't been done right. So what has not been done right that we don't know about? Last Parks and Rec meeting, we heard about a lawnmower that was supposed to be shared across multiple departments. Mr. Finance Director, you said you were unaware if that was shared properly. Are you aware yet or no? You said at that meeting that you did not know whether it was shared appropriately the way it should have been shared. Why does he not know? That's my question. Parliamentarian, why do we have one? Have you said a word all night? Who appointed you? The last appointed parliamentarian was Mr. Joe Fritz. There has not one been appointed by council since then. So without council appointing it, why is he here? That's an appointed position by council. Council rules were not suspended to ask him to come sit up there. You have a member of the public sitting up there next to you without suspending the rules. On the city manager report, When you spout off about economic development after the city manager report, that is not the time to do that. That is for questions with the city manager, not for you to say 10 more minutes to talk about whatever you want to talk about. You had your chance during your board report. If you can't say it, city manager report is for questions to her, not to further address any other agendas that you might have. The law director contract, if anyone hasn't run the numbers, this contract comes out to $93,000 a year for a part-time gig. Think about that. $93,000 a year for 1 or 2 days worth of work to a supposedly cash-strapped city yet again. As far as appointing Ms. Pretty as director of the Department of Historic Sites and Structures, if she has as much experience in that department as she does as a city manager, I don't see why you would appoint her to this position. We need someone with experience. We need someone able to run that, someone who has knowledge of historical structures. But you did appoint her without her having any background in city administration, so what I expect something different in this case. Thank you.
Would you like to respond, sir, to this allegation?
To the gentleman's criticism, sure.
Would you like to respond to that since it was directed to you, sir?
Yeah,
John.
surely.
John, he can't, John.
Yeah, not,
John.
Mr. Barrier, not right now.
All right, we'll wait. Go ahead.
Anna Eby, 50 West 9th Street. Welcome back, Mr. Bryan. And I have a couple things I wrote down. I think it's great that the town has $7 million now, 5 of which we supposedly can't spend. And I'd like to know how much money have we already thrown away? Say to lawyers, say the $250,000 to Kathy King, and what other lawsuits have you lost that you tried to get? I want an amount on how much has been wasted. And I agree with Ms. Benitez about our council persons supposedly asking constituents. My council person is never and will not answer his phone or anything else. So that's a moot point. And Mr. Bariak, you called out Mr. Hanson for whispering something here. What about Julie Smiles, who walks through here all the time and is whispering and doing things? She's never been called out on anything. I've been called out. Granted, I know I talk a lot, but if you're going to do it on one side, do it on the other. Be fair. Now, Mr. Zimmerman has also been called out and admonished while he was up here to take his hat off when speaking to council by Mr. Bariak. Do you recall that? I do. You have never once admonished or asked Mr. Curlin to take his hat off. It's so unfair. It's so lopsided in this council. It's ridiculous. The people you hate and have disdain for, you do everything you possibly can to them. As I know something else is going to come at me now for even saying any of this. But people you like, it's okay whatever they do. It's not right. It's not fair. You're not fair. And I have a question. If we would attend the Treasury Investment Board, are we allowed to ask questions? Are we allowed to speak at any of them any time? I thought public meetings you were allowed to do that. The last one I attended, I was told, no questions. You're not allowed to talk. That's what I was told. I thought public meetings were for the public. Thank you.
Mrs. Lemon, we're not going to have any clapping, please.
I think
Who's
I might have
clapping?
something to do October 4th too. Julie Lemon, 609 Ridge Road. So, Guess I'll pencil in the 6th. I want to know about this administrative committee and the review that was done. Why wasn't that meeting open to the public? I've been to planning and zoning meetings. I know Park and Recs are. I know the other committees are open to the public, so why did you and her go behind closed doors and it was not open to the public? Heck, it's not even been presented to council yet. Really? This is ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And when did council take a vote for the little parrot sitting here? When the parliamentarian get here? We have Brad, and Brad is great. When was the vote taken for this gentleman sitting here? Was it a blind draw in the National Registry or something for parliamentarians? Reach and pick one out? Because nobody here knows, but we know our tax dollars are going to pay for it. You don't like my comment? Oh, well, get over it. Free comments, public comments. I'm sick and tired of our money being wasted. Every time you turn around, it's wasted. How long have you been on council, Mr. Bariak? Almost 8 years come November. You need that man to sit beside you and tell you every move to make like he did the last meeting? You're not speaking very highly of yourself when that happens. This is enough. Nobody closed the senior kitchen but Mrs. Pretty. I filed a complaint. Heck, I said that. Because I saw 2 weeks ago today a sign sitting out here that I had questions about, and I called the health department. They came. They're the ones that told her she could not operate on a donation exemption. Not me. I don't have that power. Nobody had that power. And she's the one on the news that said she shut it down. So if you want to point blame, she's right there. Have a good night.
I'd like to respond to that lady too.
When we get a chance, sir.
Of course.
Anybody else want a public comment?
Tricia Benita, 70 West A Street, Newton Falls, Ohio. I would like to start this part of my comment by saying that I had nothing against the senior lunches. In fact, I thought it was great, as it gave seniors a chance to get out and mingle, plus get a meal. There's no fun sitting in your own home daily, seeing no one, and eating by yourself. It certainly is not conducive to good mental health. I had nothing, and I repeat, nothing to do with the cancellation of the program, even though one of the attendees in this audience this evening loudly accused me of shutting down the senior lunch program. I didn't realize I had that much power. When the program was shut down and questions arose on Facebook, I said that I would check it out. This I did. I mistakenly stated that the program was sponsored by Scope. That was not true. For that, I apologize. It was not sponsored by Scope. When I spoke with Jody from the Health Department, it was stated that there were 4 areas that needed to be corrected before they could be given a license. They were as follows. The industrial refrigerator, which I heard, but I could be wrong, had been already purchased, the same with an industrial stove. The other 2 areas were some tile needed fixing, and some plumbing needed fixing under the sink. That is the information I received. Again, I did not close down the senior lunches. Thank you.
Rick Curlin, 1009 Wood Glen. The continued harassment on that day by Julie Lemon was
I'm gonna give you one more warning, Mrs. Lemon, and that's it.
unbelievable. And the reason I wasn't there, someone brought me a meal, by the way. We do that for seniors, for each other. We don't mind spending $36 every month to have 12 home-cooked meals with dessert and everything. I think you have a copy of this of some of the seniors that were there. And in this, it says, in fact, I know you have a copy. More seniors wanted to see it. They saw it. We, the undersigned, are saddened at the closing of the senior kitchen. A delicious meal and fellowship with our friends is important. We are not pressured to pay anything. We don't need, I will interject, we don't need someone telling us that $3 is too much. We can handle our own finances. Julie Lemon and others who tried to stop our senior kitchen have succeeded. They have stopped something nice for us seniors. Their constant badgering is embarrassing to Newton Falls. Thank you, Pam, Patty, Julie, Rochelle, Mike, Tammy, Scope, and all those who made this program work. And the signatures are right here from the people who were there and saw this. The health department, and I know someone on the board, didn't close down the senior kitchen. That was our choice. They didn't close it down. Because constant bickering, constantly, and yelling at the seniors and making a big thing about this, something nice, is depressing for those who do it. I am glad, on another note, to hear that we have a contract, a purchase agreement with Dunkin' Donuts, and as many said, it would never come. Well, we have an agreement. I'm glad we saved $10,000 on what we originally thought we were going to spend. I am disappointed that we're spending more money on a contract for smart meters of $3.2 million, which is now $4 million from the previous administration, that we don't seem to understand in this community. Almost $4 million. And they're not in. But it's nice to see we have done, by forming a board, hopefully, between the township and the city, more than Heritage Accord has done in 3 years.
Time, sir.
Thank you.
Would anyone else like to address the chair? Okay, we'll start out with Mrs. Stempert. Would you have any comments, closing comments, ma'am?
Yeah, just gonna pull this up real quick. On Sunday, there is a breakfast, to raise money and support for the Newton Falls Fire Department. Sunday, September 24th from 8 to noon at AMVETS Post 112. You can dine in and carry out. It's $9 per person. All you can eat: eggs, bacon, sausage, French toast, pancakes, potatoes, sausage, gravy, and biscuits, juice and coffee, and there'll be raffle baskets and 50-50. So we appreciate your support and anyone who wants to come out and enjoy a good breakfast for $9. That's all I have.
Mr. Fedorov.
Yeah, of course here we're not supposed to be answering questions. I had several times people say, I don't return my phone calls. My cell phone records whenever I get a phone call. The people sitting there complaining, there's nothing on it. I don't know who they're calling, but it's not the cell phone that's listed with the city. Keeping in mind too, this is not a full-time 24/7, 365 a year job. If you want to call me at 2:30 in the morning, you're right, I'm not going to answer that. But the thing is, no one has called me. We had several people worried about who shut down the senior citizens. Well, one person brought everything to a head. That was Julie Lemon. She called in the health department, and it came to the point that, okay, we're going to have to do something to stop this. And our city manager did. We will be let her talk about the kitchen there. And when Julie Lemon wanted to force her way into the kitchen where she's gonna do an inspection, she's got no authority to go in there. But yet she wanted to make a big show, call the sheriff, and I don't know, for one, I'm getting tired of her theatrics, you know, that's me personally. We do still have a problem. Tonight's meeting went very well. We did not have any hollering and screaming and carrying on. We had a couple of people that had to be reminded that this is a public meeting and you don't whisper back and forth and you don't clap like you're at the movies or something, you know. I think we have an opportunity to actually present a desirable presence to the public rather than being chastised and people in the newspaper and watching Facebook thinking that, hey, this thing's one big circus. We're trying to stop that circus. That's not their circus. This is a public meeting, council meeting representing all of the public, not just a few that want to get their picture in the paper or whatever. I think we're on the right track. Thank you.
Mrs. Fletcher?
Yes, just a couple reminders. Thank you for reminding us about the breakfast on Sunday. I know, Mr. Rufner, you mentioned Autumn in the Falls on Saturday, and the next Park and Rec meeting is Tuesday, September 26th. And I also want to mention, it's still a month away, but there is the Dam Duck Drop happening on October 22nd. So we've got lots of things coming up in the near future and lots of things to look forward to. That's all.
Mr. Rufner?
Actually, I have nothing other than I was gonna remind him again of the autumn and the fall. So 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturday. So come on out, check out the vendors. Local businesses will be open, support local business. You know, take in some of the goodies up there.
Okay. I'd like to say a couple of things. It was brought up tonight that Mrs. Smiles comes walking through here. Mrs. Smiles goes for paperwork, checks the audio systems, and works with the city manager should she need something. She's an employee of the city. Now, another thing I want to bring up, I don't know where this deal came about not wearing hats. Mr. Bright and Mr. Thing have hats on. I don't remember saying anything about get your hats off. I don't know where that came from. But look, let me tell you something, people, because I'm going to be walking out of here in 3 or 4 months. I feel that we've got this village on the right track. We're doing things that have never been done before in the history of this village. Now, I was here that day when Mrs. Lemon came in here and she said, first of all, she walks back to an unauthorized area, but let's not get into that. But when she was asked, what was she doing here? She said she came for public records. You don't come into public records asking for public records where people are eating their lunch. Then she said, I'm in here about the food pantry. Very disruptive. I was here, I swear to God on the Bible. Why do the senior citizens that have worked all their lives they worked, and all they want to do is come and have a little bit to eat and some fellowship. Why are we attacking? But we'll attack anything good this community's got. Mrs. Pretty, they're talking about a raise to 90,000. Give me a break. She worked 8 months for nothing. We have supervisors here that are making 72.5 plus benefits. She's not getting any benefits. She worked 8 months for nothing. She's done things that no one. We were left broke. We were ready, and I can ask the finance director, we might have been in state receivership if not having to make the hard calls. Why, people, do we want to get rid of her? I don't know. It's a handful at all, no matter what you do, it's wrong. And shame on them because they're the ones that are, Mr. Brad Bryan, we went out for the law director now, he resigned. We went out for over 2 months. We couldn't find anyone that wanted to fill the job. We went to 4 bar associations, we went all over. This community, by a handful, has become so toxic that nobody even wants to work for it anymore. But we'll bring, hey, we got a guy that wanted a city manager. I talked to him one night. When we interviewed him, he wanted $100,000 to $115,000 in benefits. My God, what do you want for somebody that gives their heart and soul to this community? I was told one thing. I had about 12 calls. I didn't, according to charter, I assumed the job of mayor. Look, all I want to do is serve out my term and make sure this city moves forward. And we are. I can't fight. Somebody on Facebook said the job of, Dunkin' Donuts was dead. Lie. Somebody said that, well, let me talk one thing about Scott Street Sewer. We're picking up 112 people at not one dime cost to this village, working together with the township and with the county commissioners. And also, there's other people up that way that want the sewer. They're gonna pay for the whole thing. What did they do, the past administration? Leave us broke? I didn't pass the contracts that were I voted against them. But I do want to protect somebody that's earned a contract, not somebody that's just given one. There was a lot of things done in this community that I'm not going to get in tit for tat and going to be throwing stones. I'm going to move forward. We want to talk the positive. But shame on those that all they want to do is break and knock this community down. People that live in South Carolina, people that live in God knows where, Columbus. Look, I've been here all my life. Saying I made profit on this city, I have never made a dime on this city. Never made a dime on this city while I have held public office. As a matter of fact, I never asked for anybody to give me any credit either. I don't work that way. I heard a saying, what you do for yourself will go to your grave, go to the grave with you. What you do for others may be recognized down the road. You may be thought of during your life. People might bring you back up and say something good about you. That's what somebody ought to think about. Look, I've had 10 calls, and 2 of the calls said, Mr. Bariak, can you please, if you do nothing else up there, restore civility to that meeting? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to agree to disagree amicably, but we're not going to, this isn't going to be a sideshow anymore. With that, do we have a motion to go into executive session? Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Pretty, I didn't give you or, I'm sorry.
I don't have.
I got on a ramp right then.
No, I don't have any additional comments.
Mr. Bryan, would you like any last words, sir?
No, you did say you want to make a motion to go to executive
Yes.
session? And would that be to consider the appointment, employment, or compensation of a public employee?
Yes.
Is that the purpose?
I'll make that motion.
I have a second.
Second.
Roll call.
Ms. Stempert?
No.
Mr. Federoff?
Yes.
Mr. Bariak?
Yes.
Ms. Spletzer?
Yes.
Mr. Rufner?
No.
All right, we're going to executive session for a few minutes. Donuts is dead. Mr. Alberini said it on Facebook.
Wishful thinking on his part.
Yeah. Mr. Waddle.
We got it.
Hey, Tessa, would you text me when you guys leave? Would you text me when you leave? I think I'm gonna just go stay in her office with her. Would you text me when you leave executive session? Thanks. I don't know if you guys are gonna want me or not, but I'm gonna hang out with her probably in her office. Okay. I don't think we need you. Really? Okay. Well, then maybe I'll leave. If she dismisses me. Want to go in your office for a few minutes? He's muting them until they leave. I had Tessa. Tessa's gonna text me. I don't know. If not, she will. We'll be back.
Yeah. Just sit here until they come back.
You have my cell phone or not?
Yeah.
Would you text me too when they come in? If I'm not already,
Sure.
just say they're back or something.
case, should be apparent what is being done and the effect. The effect of, let me finish. The effect of, the action that members are required. So that they not only, but they need to know the effect. Okay.
So be in that email that charter has homework. All right, so Article 6, Section
I'm being called away. No, that's not so. I'm legally